Greetings, my friends. This is Maryland. So I've been away a lot, and just briefly, for those who may know or may not know, I got cancer 2.5 years ago, and pancreatic cancer. And shockingly enough, I'm alive today. That's kind of an amazing thing. So what I've decided to do to get back into the groove is let's go to my big team game, Axes of Evil, which is where I'm coaching 3 relative new players, although the skill level is actually pretty high on my team. Now, this is a direct connect game on the Discord, on Althea's Discord or the Dominion's Discord. And so the team, we're well underway. This is turn 38. And you can see we are doing quite well. So my team is, I'm playing Soramadia, and also heavily backing up Marverni, my buddy here, played by our very favorite friend on the Discord, Pencils, who has lots of work and also runs servers, all kinds of fun stuff. So what happened here, now we got to kind of zoom out to the big map. You may be able to get a bit of a grip, but our team is myself at Soramadia, Pencils on Marverni, my buddy Timotej, he's playing Baratos, and we have Jahara. This is a Dominions Enhanced game. Now, Dominions Enhanced, I think, is a pretty excellent upgrade mod. It adds some little bit broader perspective to things. Doesn't really throw the game way out of whack. It's got a few balance level glitches, and you can see by the gold border, we've got pretty excellent Dominions. Now we went with, and this might be a little hard to demonstrate, but let's have a look. Let's look at the Bless. So I went with the Forge Pretender. So I'm kind of the Disciple. My job in the game is to make all that crazy cross-pass stuff. So you can see that I went with pretty classic Forge Pretender based upon, once you get to Construction 6, you're going to have the ability to boost to anything you pretty much want to forge, including artifacts, tough stuff like Staves of Elemental, all kinds of bits and pieces. And that's why water won, because water is one of the easiest things to make boosters for. They're cheap and easy. A little bit of blood, a little bit of everything. And in the early part of the game, I had her go out and do site searching. So you can see here, that's the classic searching. So we have really quite excellent gem income, even relative, and it gets a lot better as time goes on. Now, for the diplomatic aspect of things, one of the other teams, the BOD team, which is another mod nation in Dominions Enhanced, they got in a big war with Niflheim, Fennoscandia. So you can see there's quite a bit of fighting going on. So, and we also ended up with kind of an awkward situation that we got a little bit squeezed by expansion into our territory. You can kind of see this here, where Ulm pushed up, put a squeeze on Marverni. Marverni had a pretty difficult early expansion. And what I'm doing as Soramadia is providing some of the heavy push. I've actually got, if we have a quick look at score graphs, I've got one of the better armies, by far the largest. That includes a significant amount of junk. Crossbreeding particularly, I used a bunch of crossbreeding in order to create chaff, which, makes sense. But on the other hand, it's actually a pretty elite army. There's some really amazing stuff in Dominions Enhanced. One of the things that Red Rob did, he's the author of Dominions Enhanced, has provided some quite amazing, national spells. So let's see if I can show a bit of an example. You can see I'm heavily on the Sacreds. I'm using a lot of tattoos. For those familiar with things like Soramadia, tattoo blasting or tattoo busting, buffing, not busting, can really add some oomph to your sacreds, your ordinary troops. I've been fond of Soramati as a nation since well back in Dominions 3, and it's a neat nation. I know people called me out because in my early game, I kind of heavily worked towards using the cavalry, the composite bow cavalry. I know people say they're not really very efficient, but playing Mongol cavalry with composite bows and fire and retreat and stuff is just kind of nifty, and I got away with it. But some bits of how I went about this didn't really go out all that well. So you can see I'm blood hunting in a concentrated form. Now, the justification for this is blood hunting with Soramati, you're a relatively minor blood nation. You have to work with, if you have a look here, one of your best blood hunters, cost-wise, is your warrior sorceresses, but they're only 1 in 4 is blood. And then secondly, you've got your Witch Kings, which are excellent, except they are your number 1 combat mage. So how many can you afford to blood hunt? So I've done, in this part of the game, turn 38, and things have moved on. I'm recording things about 15 turns back, so therefore I'm not giving things away that our opponents don't already know. Sorry, I had to light my smoke. You'll live with that. I've been trying to quit smoking for decades. Stupid ass hobby. Anyways, I'm using concentrated blood hunting. Now, when I do a few later turns, you'll see this does tend to cost in that it's kind of the standard that you want to blood hunt right around the 5,000 to 7,000 population range. And kind of a rule of thumb, it's not absolute, is if you blood hunt with 4 levels, with growth 3, which we do have, you can hold your population even against what's going to kill them with patrolling. And you can see that my main patrollers, a little bit of cavalry, look here, but the main thing is cheap hawks. You get 40 hawks for 10 air gems, and well, son of a gun, I mean, that's pretty cheap. Let's have another quick look here. If we look here, you click on the precision number, you notice hawks have a patrol strength of 1. That's not amazing. You could do a heck of a lot better, but when you get 40 of them, so 4 per gem, that's pretty excellent value. There are not many other things that do better. I believe I've got some patrolling here going on. Nope, I thought I had them. I had some Pale Riders, which are again a fairly cost-effective option. But you can see what I'm doing with my Pretender is making cross-pass things that we don't have the ability. So I'm making a pocket ship. This was actually to help Baratos make a jump over here. Now, after the big war between the Bod team and the Fenascandia team, we decided we better jump in before we end up too far behind the 8-fall. So, and then the Bod team was on a 2 versus 1, 2 teams versus 1, against Roos here, Arco here, Ermer here, and Vanheim down here. So we decided, okay, we're going to take those guys out, mainly because they had really put the squeeze on us, especially Arco and Vanheim. And they'd done quite a bit of damage to our ability to connect our, we're in, you can see our Dominion kind of stretches in a long, thin line. Not optimal, although with what basically we have a scales build with a relatively weak bless. Take a quick look at the bless here. Just something of note, when a disciple is in its own dominion, it gets blessed automatically. But when it moves out of its dominion, that's a bit of an issue. So here's our bless. Pretty much we went triple resist with chill. Kind of an odd choice. The chill is a little weird. It took us a bit of balance, but this is a very cost-effective bless. The one thing missing, although that's only really a Plico, is poison resist, which is a big deal for Soramatia because you do have the capability of foul vapors, which has become a bit of a meta as a very powerful solution to dealing with communions, tons of chaff, all kinds of things. But Soramatia is obviously a death nation, opens up the option to tremendous amounts of skeleton spam. So what's happening right now? Now, I did load up. This is loaded with a turn almost completed. It looks like I thought it was completed, but you can see that I got a few people just on defend orders. But you can see that we're fighting Arcos Valley. Interesting fun tidbit, this fight here. Arcos Valley came at us with Windlords and Windriders with an excellent bless, quite a devastating bless. And our counter was quite interesting. So let's just have a look at his bless. A little bit loud, but there we go. Oh, no, we got to find somebody who actually got bless. There we go. So, magic weapons, huge defense, and blood surge. Now the combat speed, that's kind of an odd choice. Makes probably more sense for some of their other sacreds. Doesn't make any sense for flying sacreds like the Windriders. But the magic weapons and the defense, that's difficult. So what we did, and you'll see it in the next turn when I get to it, we simply assassinated those Windlords. We used remotes. There's an absolutely devastating remote available, and I don't have it yet, but my partner, who is playing Jaheira, had it. This thing, Summon Morai. It's very pricey, and the range is a bit of a challenge. But this crazy thing, you can look it up in the mod inspector. It's part of Dominion's Enhanced, but this is a devastating assassin. Hopefully I'm keeping my having a sip here at a relatively, I like my tea and my other favorites. So you can see I'm doing a siege, and we check the messages, M key for anybody new. On the messages we started to destroy the gate. So next time you'll see kind of, now this is what I really wanted to show. These are the Partholonians included with Dominion's Enhanced. My gosh, these guys are spectacularly superb. Plus, you get their commander, gives you air magic for Soramatia. They're stealthy, Holy 2. You know, this is a potential Wailing Winds caster, and Wailing Winds is a pretty devastating option. So I'm moving them up to help out. As we can do it, we'll clean up these little tidbits. Here's one of the assassinations, I believe. The C key's not working because it was my ally, but I can do the watch. And oh, there we go. This is one of these Morai. So, pretty damn brutal. Hard hitting, high defense, excellent attack, even better with the weapon. Quite a bit of hit points. No protection, but invulnerability. Against the magic weapons, they do have a bit of a challenge, but they hit so crazy hard. Sadly, all she's killing is a mystic. Pretty trivial situation, but we were doing a bit of softening up, and some of the other less expensive options. But that's the Morai. So what happens, and I'm doing a little foreshadowing here, is we actually trap these 40 Windriders. Now think about the cost of that. Oh, where are we here? Let's have a quick look. Windriders, 55 gold. So they all get trapped there for the next few turns till we finally decide it's time to kill them. He keeps trying to send Windlords to go collect them, fails, and we mostly ignore that while we take his forts. And you can see that the target here is going to be Arcos Valley, which we will get to as time goes on. Now, what other tidbits are worth really showing here? I snagged a few lakes, and that was handy. I actually made the effort to do Voice of Aspu so that I can get all the elemental sites in my little lakes. I've got 4 lakes right here. And I had no competition for them. The potential competition was Atlantis here, which is part of the BOD team, but we had a good alliance agreement from the very early parts of the game, and still holding actually. We're on turn 54. So diplomacy can really affect a big team game like this. This was 4 teams of 4, 16 players, so moderately large. I usually trying to stick to a little bit smaller games, but these coaching games are kind of a special experience. You can see here that Ulm had a bit of a rough go. Oh, that was just me getting rid of a diseased dude. So who particularly cares? And then later on, but you can see here Ulm is part of the BOD Atlantis team. His capital ends up under siege very, very early. But there's a number of problems with this siege. And as next turns come along, we'll kind of get to that. But I would argue not the best way to go about things. So I don't think we have too much else to say. You can see here, I actually ended up buying some Ichthyeids. I always have trouble pronouncing that. Yeah, Ichthyid, close enough. That was to help me take over these bits of water. Get my gem income up, go for that. So the blood hunting, we only have 2 provinces blood hunting, but you can see good amount of slaves. I feed a few slaves to Marverni because they don't have any hunting, but they have, it's such a strange thing. Marverni can't do blood hunting, but it can sacrifice for Dominion using slaves. It's always been a strange effective. So Marverni, I think, makes an excellent team support nation with blood nations, and the other 3 of us are all minor blood nations. Baritos, BOD, or sorry, not BOD, Jahera and Sorrow have minor blood. So we've all been kind of funneling our blood towards, you'll see here, eventually in some later turns, the absolutely brutal blood summons that Baritos has. Here they are, the sheds. They're just amazing. And then for me, the blood goes into massive amounts of boosters, like making brazen vessels, and some, I think I can demonstrate here. Let's have a look. I believe I've got some chaff here. Oh, this is when I still had whites. Yeah. Whites are awfully pricey, and I don't usually do them, but I got them in order to take these lakes from some tough independents in the earlier game. I don't get more of them from this point on, and in the next couple of turns you'll see what happens to them. So I think we've kind of covered what's going on here. Let's have a quick look at what Helheim's doing. Helheim does a great job in this game, just amazing. He's running around with some really high efficiency, well designed Van Jarl thugs. Although I would argue he might have gone a little high on the gem cost. I'm not entirely sure you need all that. A Frostbrand and Divine Shield should basically do what you need. And now they do get Dwarf Smiths, I believe. So that makes Girdle of Might a pretty basic concept. But still, it's one hell of a killer. And he goes on to be kind of a pain in the butt for everybody around him. So it's the classic, you know, these are elves. Any of the Heims, Tir na Nog or Eriu, they all use kind of the same stuff. For his blast, he's not blessed yet? Okay, he should blast next. Nope, he didn't blast. Is he going to blast? No, he runs off with it. Hang on. There he is, he's blessed. So attack 4, shock resistance, defense, skill, blood surge. Nasty. So Helheim really did an excellent job in this game. Quite amazing. And there's not a whole heck of a lot to show here. That crazy thug's going to wipe everything without any challenge. It's just a little bit of province defense. But you can see that Helheim kind of spread his tentacles all over the crazy place. And we actually had a few little bit of glitches with them at times. Now you can also see that we've done some work to have Marverni, I guess you'd call it how would you describe it? A little bit of a defensive action to keep Vanheim in check, because we were having troubles after we declared war with Vanheim running, not Van Jarls, but, well, anyways, we'll see them later on. And I think, what do we got in this battle? There we go. Pretty sweet. So they're Van Jarls, and the amazing thing is Marverni's crazy disciple just chews them up, which was very fun. Even without being in his own dominion, because I think, let's have a quick look at the boar. Oh, he is blessed. Yeah, we had dominion there this turn. So Marverni had a lot of attrition overall with his troops, but trouble is in the early game, and I was helping Marverni do his turns, he had problems getting enough of the tattoos up. The bare-chested guys, or the bare-chested do a heck of a lot better if they're tattooed with the limited invulnerability. Not so good against the Arco team with their magic weapons, but even so, it's still worth doing. In this case, what we got happening is you'll see these Van Jarls, they come charging forward. Now, I believe, if I remember correctly in this one, yeah, he's using Swords of Sharpnesses. Now, I know some people are recommending using one Great Sword of Sharpness versus two Swords of Sharpnesses. And again, that's got a lot to do with the Elfheims have the option of very cost-efficient forging of earth magic items. I do question the elemental armor. What we're talking about is, he's not really going up against anything, and that's a very expensive piece of gear for a cheap thug. Ring of Frost, not a bad idea, because he probably saw that we had Chill Aura, so that's cheap. With a hammer, that's 3 gems. The elemental armor, oh, I see, I forgot about that. It's lower in cost due to Dominion's Enhanced. So if you take off the 2 gem saving from a Dwarven hammer, still, it's a little on the pricey side. I would consider this too expensive for a thug. And this costs him, you'll see. I mean, they tear up our cavalry and Marverni's chaff, but the crazy nutball boar just goes and tramples them to death. And then it goes berserk, and then nothing can do anything to it. Because, if I remember correctly, I tossed up personal regen, and its protection is massive, defense skill is superb, and it's blessed, so it's got Chill Aura. So, yeah, this is a long drawn-out fight. I'm going to speed it up quite a bit. So, basically, all the troops that Marverni sent die, but bit by bit, the boar kills the Vans. It's pretty amazing. So we win. Simple enough. He's not doing a lot of damage, but a failed trample is 1 point. So without regen, basically over time, against something you can't do enough damage to, it wins. And it's berserk, so who cares? Everything else runs, but the boar just keeps going. It's like the Energizer boar, right? Everybody loves the Energizer bunny. This is the Energizer boar. Yeah, I got a kick out of this fight. If I remember correctly, this was a combo of myself and the Marverni player. We kind of worked over this script. It was a bit high risk, but the whole idea was just keep Van a little bit tied up, because we had been having a lot of trouble with these Van Jarls running around. But look at that. That's pretty amazing. So I think we've kind of covered turn 38. I usually like to keep my videos around the 15-minute mark. What have I got here? 25 minutes, coming on 30. And of course, anybody has questions, you know where to find me. It's Maryland. It's Maryland everywhere. You can Gmail me. You can find me on YouTube. You can look me up on Discord or Dominion's 5 Steve forums, all of which works. So dudes, I hope you enjoyed my first video in, oh my god, it's been a long time. And I look forward to let's do more. Let's do more. Let's make this a community thing. You will find me on Twitch as Mareland. I haven't been hugely active. It's picking up. I do have issues related to health that, sometimes I just have to nap. I'll be playing away and I gotta go have a nap. And I'm willing to share turns. People want to look at them in detail. I have done in the past and I will do in the future. Put them up on my Google Drive. I think that's it. I'm gonna call it done. I think that was a good cast. I'm gonna do a bit of editing, see what I can do to make this all pretty and nifty and put a title and all that kind of stuff. All right. Take care, my friends.